Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. Now, good friend of the channel, and the boss of our Discord, Mama Kim, suggested I check this joint out. And a lot of other people have been suggesting for like the last year and a half that I go check out Neil deGrasse. I think I'm saying his name right. Neil deGrasse Tyson is his name. But I have a video of him talking to Ben Shapiro. I'm going to check this out. I believe that on some points they agree and on others they do not. So this should be a good conversation. I'll try to shut up and learn for the most part, but if I got something to say, you best believe Van knows how to talk. I might talk wrong, but I'm going to talk, all right? And for everyone who has purchased the hat, thank you so much. As you see, we got the new black on black LFR family hats. And we also have the MAGA red with the white LFR family inside the joint too. Go to the link below. Make sure you put in the LFR 10 for 10% off and free shipping all across America. So we about to go ahead and jump into this here.
It seems like the left is militating against the advent of science. One of those areas is the area of transgenderism. The argument that is typically made by gender theorists is that gender is entirely separate from sex. You've seen the argument made that it makes no difference on average if men are stronger than women are, and that if we were to allow transgender women to compete with non-transgender women, then this would somehow not disadvantage biological women. And this seems to me absolutely ascientific, that if we're actually going to have a discussion about gender and sex, that should be based in data, which suggests that mammals are in fact binary in terms of their sex, unless you have intersex birth defects typically, or genetic defects.
I'm happy to opine on this.
What? You are not going to Jordan B. Peterson me with these daggone big, small words, small, big words that are never used. You're happy to opine on this? God dang it. Somebody look up opine. What does opine mean? My gracious, I'm happy to speak on this. I'm happy to... I don't... What? You're the synonym king pulling out opine. I've never heard of opine a day in my black life, man. And why are y'all sitting knee to knee? It looked like y'all are sitting knee to knee, like your kneecaps are literally touching, and you got heat lamps behind you. All right? Well, go ahead and opine, brother. Sheesh. Now, that's a word. That is the word of the day. Matter of fact, y'all got that? Talk to my producers. Y'all got that? Okay. You got that? All right.
This only matters because today we segregate nearly all sports by gender. Otherwise, why do you even give what someone identifies with? So we live in a free country, and with consenting adults and people free expression of who and what they are.
Man, on adult level, I agree with you. I think it does matter what you teach
That's what
children.
I'm saying. And so there's the matrix of what you are biologically, how you express yourself, who you choose as a sexual partner. If we actually live in a free country, as we tell ourselves, people's freedom to behave in any of those ways should not concern you at all. Nor are they requiring that you behave that way. Okay?
Well,
this is for their own freedoms, because we live in a free country. Now, what is unresolved here is, what do you do with sports? It's unresolved. And I've followed that closely, and I don't see any meaningful solutions to come down off of that. We know that hormones manifest differently in different people, and just the whole thing with steroids. Steroids are hormones, right? And we rallied against steroids in professional sports because it gives you an undue advantage. So I've tried to think of what the future of sports would be in the world of a gender spectrum. And it may be, you don't specify whether it's a male or female sport. You just take measurements of what your hormonal balances are. And so you compete based on your hormones. I mean, this is thought I had. I mean, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to land.
The WNBA won't be in business for very long if that's the case.
It would just be you'd have to find some way to compete people against each other if you still care that sports is an interesting activity.
I guess.
Hold on, before they move forward, I just want to say this. I understand that you have love for everyone, and if a group of individuals are different, you want to show them the same level of respect. You don't want them to feel you don't want them to feel like they're being persecuted for being different. You don't want them to feel like we are trying to separate ourselves from them and make it feel like we're above them in any type of way, shape, or form. I get that. I got the same heart for people as well. But you introduce a lot of things into the acceptance part without questioning. Safety is a big part of it. Safety for the women who will be competing against men should be big on your mind as a man. As a man, the safety for women who are becoming men and competing against men should be on your mind. They should be protected. Or, as a man also, the safety for women who are already competing as women, who are naturally born women, but now they are competing against men who are now identifying themselves as women, and they're losing against people, against trans women who, when they were just men or boys and competed against their naturally born gender, they weren't that great. But when they're competing against women now, naturally their makeup and their build is allowing them an advantage over naturally born women. Those type of things should be considered when we're having this conversation. Also, the type of topics that we're introducing to children at such a young age, simply because of adults accepting these new situations. It's so much that runs into this. So much so that I don't think we can afford to say it's not our business. Why do we even care? We have to care. As long as we continue to have have children, as long as we can continue as men to want to protect children and women, then we have to consider these things. And then you also have, within that pack, you have some people who are making these decisions egregiously just so that they can prey on people, prey on children, prey on women, prey on men sometimes. People are, it's some extremely sick individuals out here. So if we don't have this conversation and actually care at the same time, we will go nowhere. But we can't approach simply because we love everyone. We can't approach every situation with, it's not our business. Why do we care? I understand and I respect this gentleman for being who he is, and extremely intelligent as he is. Talking about opine. Allow me to opine on this. Obviously, you opined, and I heard your opine. Allow me to opine. I don't even know what opine means, but what you said makes a lot of sense, but we do have to consider those things.
I guess the area where it does come up in a non-sports area.
Yeah, tell me, 'cause I don't know.
So it would be, you talk in your book about the education of children and teaching children about science. And right now, children are being taught about the quote-unquote gender spectrum, which is not scientifically based. That is a theory-based idea.
Didn't I just now say that, guys? Didn't I just now say that? See? Oh, I'm starting to learn, man.
No, wait, hold on. People express themselves on a spectrum. So you learn that.
That's a social point, not a scientific point. Meaning we express ourselves
hold on.
based in different languages. Is that something you teach in science class, or is that something that you teach when you're teaching language?
So whether the fact that people want to express themselves on a spectrum, on a gender spectrum, whether that fact is something you want to put in a sociology class or in a science class, maybe that remains to be determined. But it is a real fact about real society.
Well, of course, nobody's denying that people identify how they want to identify.
So,
My man says fact. Whether it's a fact. My gracious, bro, you are so freaking smart, man. Whether it's a fact. Fact. I gotta see, opine. Fact. I gotta make sure my teeth are clean if I'm gonna be saying these words, because fact. You gotta show your teeth to say that.
So
the question is, what is the relationship of that to biology? Meaning that the argument is made that trans women are women, for example. And what that seems to mean is that trans women are identical to women. Now, if people want to say trans women are not biological women, obviously that is the case. But people don't seem to want to say that, although that is obviously scientifically true. Trans women are not biological women. Biological women are biological women.
But where are you going with this? What are you trying to accomplish by asking yourself, is it science or is it not science? It's people in society.
But this is a perfect example of an area where suddenly it doesn't matter to say things that are just true. Like, why is it bad or wrong to point out?
I have another way to approach this. I care what is objectively true in the world as a scientist. But let me not say even as a scientist. I just simply care what is objectively true. And science happens to be a pretty potent path to invoke, to find out what is true. And so if people express themselves on a gender spectrum, and that is an actual thing in an actual society, if we have not fully explained that scientifically, that's an interesting frontier to study. If you want to say it's only sociological, then it's the purview of the social sciences. I don't care who studies it. It's an interesting fact about society that's worth learning about.
I like that. It's worth learning about. And that's where I enter in. It's worth having a conversation, not thinking that your way of thinking on it is the only way of thinking on it. Let's all think about this. Let's all talk about this without anyone being offended. That's an idea. That's not going to happen. People are going to get offended because they feel attacked. And because they feel attacked, you're going to have a gentleman like Neil deGrasse Tyson. Hopefully I'm saying his name right, not butchering it. Coming from a different way of looking at things. Like, if his periphery is from that of those people who just want peace, who are like in it, they're in the thick of it. And they understand that you guys are talking about us, but we don't want to be really studied like lab rats. Like, we feel a little uncomfortable already with the fact that you all are having debates about us and you're not us. You don't know this feeling. You will never understand this feeling. And they will be 1000% correct. Like Neil deGrasse nor Ben Shapiro would fully understand what it's like to be a trans woman or trans man, because they aren't either. So from them being on the inside, but when it comes to debates about them, they're on the outside looking in, it has to be someone there who represents them at all time, just so they understand that they are an important part of society. And you're not just going to be swept under the rug simply because you're different. We're going to try to figure you out, learn you, not like a daggone monkey or mice that you give medicine to see how they act or anything like that. But essentially, that's what people come off as doing by acting as if they have a full understanding as to what they're actually going through mentally and physically. But that's partially the trans person's fault, based off of them being asked questions head on, and them taking offense to these questions and not taking the opportunity to actually to try to teach. Not only try to teach, But without understanding, there is no learning. So even the teacher sometimes has to shut up and listen. Because how else could you know how to approach society so that they can understand who you are as a people if you're not even willing to understand what society see and feel about you? It's a two-way street. That's how I feel about it.
To fight someone and say, it's not biological, it's just your this. It's real and it's there.
Well,
because it's real because it manifests.
But it is real because it manifests. But the question of how to classify manifestation is a scientific question, meaning that, for example, there was a woman over at Brown University. She came out with a study that suggested that there was a phenomenon called rapid onset gender dysphoria, in which a member of a particular group would suffer from gender dysphoria, and this person's immediate peer group would suddenly have an onset of gender dysphoria. This paper was so controversial that Brown tried to pull it, and then was forced to reassign it later. You see this sort of treatment.
That's a different question. What you're asking now is, are there some topics that should not be studied scientifically?
Right.
And is there some taboo? And Sam Harris speaks a lot about this.
Yes.
And I think the concern is, if you study some topic that's a hot button topic and you bring scientific methods and tools to it, we don't trust, I'm interpreting here, I think we as a society don't trust that people in charge in a free country won't try to legislate something that will constrict people's freedoms in the face of that information. I think that's the fear.
Well, isn't that?
It's a fear.
I mean, and isn't
it's a reality? I mean, it's only a fear because it's a reality. Like, women are losing their rights right now as we speak. Women are constantly losing their rights. It's that women already been losing a lot of things, and we wouldn't be a society if it weren't for women. I don't know why men don't understand that part. Like, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for a vagina for us to come out of. But because this crossing over of, okay, now I'm this, so I get the same rights as you, or no, it doesn't work that way. Women are the victims in this right here. In my opinion, simply my opinion, and I've been wrong many times. And I'm sitting in the room right now with two geniuses. These two guys are geniuses, man. Both him and him. So at the end of the day, I'm just somebody that's, you know what I mean, I'm the fly on the wall that talks too much. I'm like Donkey on Shrek.
We don't trust our own ability to govern ourselves in the face of what could be some information relative to other kinds of information.
Isn't that a bit of a problem?
Yes.
I mean,
yeah. Yeah, it's not. It means it's not a free society. It's not a society of free inquiry, which I think you need ultimately. But yeah.
My general take on all of this stuff, from climate change to gender dysphoria to all of these issues, is bring out the science and then let's hash it out. I think that the problem I'm seeing on a lot of sides
is, what is your motivation?
Why? Why does that matter?
Your motive matters, Ben Shapiro. The reason why your motive matters is because are you trying to do this just to get another win for the side that you represent, or are you doing this so that you can make sure that all parties involved, all parties who will be effective by legislation, are all taken care of? And you're not just making sure that the people who have gender dysphoria are receiving the little bit that they should receive, and we should continue just to move forward as regular people until they play catch up. Sometimes motive does matter. Well, a lot of time motive does matter. Sometimes I will forego a business deal that seems extremely lucrative after doing a great deal of research into these deals, knowing that my goal is to be at a certain level financially at some point. But if I know that the reason you're approaching me is not in line with my own, integrity and how I move, then I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. That's like someone approaching me right now and wanting to have a conversation with me, like people who look like me, black people who are a great majority of them liberals. They will automatically assume that I'm not a liberal, that I don't like liberals, and that I have an issue with black culture simply because of the content I cover on this channel. And my commentary might be for, or it might be a little against a lot of what they represent, the negative parts anyway. But sometimes people will come up to you and be like, they will ask you a question about your stance, and they're not asking you a question about your stance on things so that they can have an understanding and be able to, and to be able to come closer to where you are. They are trying to figure out, why are you so far away from where they are? And after you're done talking, because while you're talking, they're not even listening, first of all. They're thinking of their own retort. They're thinking about how they will respond against what you're saying, not for. They don't want to understand what you're saying. They're trying to make sure that you realize that you are the one that's wrong. You're on the wrong side, and you need to come back over here, because if you don't, then you're less of a man in my eyes. That right there, that motive, that reason for this conversation is completely off. Because if I knew from beginning that you didn't care about what I was about to say, I would not waste my time with you. Time is very precious. Time is very precious, and I would like to give it to my goals, to my family, and to other people who love me, love and care about me. Not to someone that's just trying to clip me up just so that they can make a point. So motive does matter. Also, I think Ben Shapiro is more concerned about what's right and what's wrong, the law of it all. If you're trying to, he don't like the fact that people are trying to manipulate real issues for their own benefit so that they can turn over certain legislations and wreak havoc while doing so, because that's what a lot of people are doing. They try to hide their maliciousness behind an actually valid cause, just so they can wreak havoc and cause a whole bunch of mischief, and in the end, get what they want or take away what you have. Because since they are sad, since they're upset, since they're feeling disenfranchised, if I'm not winning and if I'm not eating, I don't want you to win nor eat. So motive does mean something on both sides. So yeah, in my opinion.
It matters, because if you have political power, you could end up creating legislation that subtracts freedoms from people who previously were enjoying the same freedoms as you. The history of that exercise
then make a better argument.
Doesn't end well.
Well, but the history of which exercise? Bring out all the science and let's hash it out?
I'm saying, if you bring out all the science and the politicians hash it out, the history of that exercise is a recipe for disaster if it involves discoveries that put people's freedom as defined in our Constitution at risk.
But now you're arguing for limitations on areas of particular study.
No, I'm arguing on, we need a way to shield, we need a way to protect people's freedoms in the face of whatever gets discovered scientifically.
So
I'll give it.
I agree. I think that's what the Constitution is for, is to guard rights from.
But we're always fighting people who want rights are always fighting others who are saying they don't get the rights from the Constitution. This is a daily challenge on the progressive left. It is a daily challenge, right? Here's an example. I forgot how I ended up getting this phone call. It was some magazine that serves the gay community. And they want, I remember why, because they wanted my opinion on, they wanted my opinion about whether being gay was biological or mental.
Right, there's that new study that came out, this vast study.
Or psychological.
Right,
okay?
Right.
And I said, I don't care which it is. Find out what it is, fine. But the answer to that question should have no consequence on legislations or laws. Because, for example, suppose it said it's purely biological, okay? Then you say, oh, that explains it. Suppose it says it's purely psychological. What are you going to do now? You say, well, now you're going to go to the reorientation camps or whatever those are called, where they realign you because they say it's psychological rather than biological. All of a sudden,
you start thinking, oh, we can fix it then. We can fix it if it's psychological.
People start behaving in ways in society that want to constrict the freedom of expression of who and what people are. And that is a danger. So maybe there needs to be a line in the sand. Let science do what it does, but politicians keep us free. Yet there's so many politicians that are doing the opposite of that.
So why aren't you a libertarian?
And that scares me.
I'm a libertarian. Come over here. Just
okay.
The line is right here. Just join me over here.
That's true. I like what they said. I like what both of them said. That was a really good conversation. If you thought so, please let me know if that was a really good conversation. Excluding my parts, obviously. Excluding my parts. I'm talking about their parts. I really enjoyed that. Two people with who disagreed on certain points, who were able just to have a conversation and end up smiling at each other, laughing at the end of it. Like, that's how a conversation is supposed to be. That is how a conversation is supposed to be. Yeah. What do y'all think? Let me know whatever y'all want me to know in the comments below. And if you have yet to hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do so on your way out the door. Once again, guys, I'm Van, and now we are all the LFR family. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video and hopefully inside the Patreon as well. Y'all have been amazing per usual, man. Love y'all.